Welcome everyone, Tactical Lich here, and today we have a battle replay, super close one from the Nightcrew Discord. Cool Umbrella will be playing as the Greenskins versus the Beastmen. Both armies are going a wide army melee rush, with the Greenskins having goblins at the front line backed up by some savage orc bigons, providing some nice anti-large backbone for the Greenskin army. At the back there, savage orc air boys, which will be some solid fire support against the lightly armored Beastmen monsters. Protecting the missiles are the Greenskins' signature light cavalry and bacon cavalry. Broken Tusk mobs as well as regular Orc Boar Boy Biggins, and also a ton of Wolf Riders and Goblin Spider Riders. Leading the army would be Wurzak, providing some solid melee attack buffs, with the Bonewood Staff providing plus 12 melee attack whenever he is casting spells. As for the spell kit, here we go, Fist of Gork and Brain Burster. There's of course also the Wurzak staple, Effigy of the Git. And on the other side for the Beastmen, we also have a very strong rush army, going rather infantry heavy this time. A bunch of Zangors, a very cost efficient infantry in the current meta, a couple Angorherds, one of them with spears, and further back a bunch of Angor Raiders for the nice missile support here. The monster-wise, on the left flank will be a bit of a bull rush approach. Two Minotaurs with great weapons supported by Taurox the Brass Bull. And speaking of monster, we have a Jabberslave supported by a Brave Shaman of Wild coming in with only Traitor Kin. On the far corner of the battlefield, there are also a couple Chaos Warhounds laying an ambush awaiting to pounce on top of the Greenskin missile lines. Though these Greenskin archers are still orcs, so they can fight decently in melee. Anyways, that's it for the army builds, and now let's get the battle started. Both the Greenskins and Beastmen are melee factions, so there is little left to be said on the battlefield. Other than that, it is just wah. All there is wah, and there will be wah. Greenskins pushing forward and the Beastmen also doing the same thing. On the left side of the Beastmen flank, we have Taurox leading the double Minotaurs pushing forward, trying to overload the Greenskin right flank perhaps. Maybe they are trying to use the anti-large Minotaurs to work down the Orc Boar Boy Biggins, although they do have to be careful because the overwhelming force of the Greenskin mobility might just be able to envelope them and surround them with a lot of their numbers. While on the main infantry line, Chav are colliding against Chav. We have Goblins fighting Angor Spears. Angors should be able to beat down the Goblins, but with the Savage Orc Arrow Boys shooting, they might be feeling a bit of pain. There are some Forest Goblin Spider Riders trying to squeeze through the Beastmen frontline gap and get on top of the Angor Raiders, but Cool Umbrella seems to be dropping that micro for a slight bit there. The front lines are colliding. It is a battle of Chav against Chav. Goblins will unfortunately get wrecked, but the Savage Orc Biggins might do some good damage against the Jabberslave with their anti-large attacks. Wurzak is starting to get targeted by the Traitor Kins from the Brave Shaman. This might be a problem for the Greenskins because they don't have any healing for Wurzak to counteract all that direct damage. The Brave Shaman though did get pinned down by the Effigy of the Git and now will be surrounded by a bunch of Wolf Riders who also got buffed up by the Fist of Gork. On the flank there, the pitched engagement of a bunch of cows and pigs. Taurox is doing just fine. But the Minotaurs, they are all taking substantial damage from even the Goblins, who now have 84 melee attack. Bonewood Staff, here we go, and wah, boosting their melee attack all the way up to nearly 100. All the Greenskin units in the blob have some insane damage output, and the cows are definitely feeling it. While over here, Brave Shaman is almost worked down by a combination of Wolf Riders and Wurzak, but unfortunately, the Brave Shaman and the Angor Raiders managed to rout off the Wolf Riders, and they're once again free to escape from the grasp of Wurzak, while Zangors will be pushing in to tie down Wurzak with the support of the Angor firepower. Now on the right flank of the Beastmen army, we can see that the Greenskin seems to be doing pretty well here, routing off the Angor Raiders, and a bunch of the Chaos Warhounds were actually beaten back by the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, who was buffed up by the massive wah. Now the Arrow Boys have secured their backline. They took a lot of losses being hit by the Chaos Warhounds charges, but they are able to fire now. The only problem is that Jabberslave's charging animation can be a bit of an issue, just dragging the unit model left, right, and center, and a lot of the shots from the Savage or Arrow Boys were forced to miss. Now on the flank here, we have the Forest Goblin Spider Riders managed to push off the Minotaurs, and they will not be coming back because the Greenskins do have the dominant mobility game. Another wah has been popped as the Greenskins have been engaging in combat for the entirety of the battle. 3 minutes and 2 watts. This is definitely some very fast charging with their sheer numbers. However, the problem is that Warzak, their lord, is so close to death and there's nothing to stop Taurox from hunting him down. The Greenskin Bacon Calf took heavy losses in the engagement against the Minotaurs. The ones that remain are too busy chasing off the routed Minotaurs and other units and are in no position to bail out Warzak. There's nothing with enough mass to pin down Taurox, so the Brass Bull is just beelining straight for the kill. Jabber's Life hopping straight into the formation of the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, disrupting their firing. And because the Arrow Boys are so close to each other, the Jabber's Life was able to disrupt multiple units at the same time. Now, despite Warzak's peril, the Greenskins still have a very strong presence on the battlefield. The problem is whether they can deal with the Beastmen single entities. Now, Zangors have managed to beat back a bunch of Greenskin chaff, will be now moving back into the middle here and support the single entities, although the single entities don't seem to be in much of a problem right now, with the Jabber's Life constantly draining the health of all these surrounding low leadership Greenskin units. Once their leadership drop below 50%, they will start taking damage from the Mortis engine effect of the Jabber's Life. The Aura of Madness, just like all the other Mortis engine effect, is the bane of infantry blobs. And against low leadership factions like the Greenskins, this can be very effective. And now it is jumping into yet another Savage Orc Arrow Boys, shutting down their missiles, and on top of that, starting to chill through their unit models. Warzak getting plowed by Taurox one more time, and unfortunately this will be the last time as the Greenskin Lord has been slain. The balance of power might be fairly even right now, but I do believe that Greenskin is on a major back foot. Losing their lord would deal a big hit to their leadership, and as a low leadership faction, the fear and terror on the Beastman monster will be devastating in the late game. You can see the terror of the Jabber's Life is already affecting some of the tattered Greenskin units. Combined with the Angor Raiders' missile morale debuff, a lot of them are breaking from combat. Savage Orc Bigans and the Forest Goblin Spider Riders are trying their best to tie down Taurox, but Taurox is just rolling through the battlefield. Their high mass means that nothing on the Greenskin side can stop them, plus the terror from the Jabber's Life is more than enough to rout off all these poor gobbles. Zangor is doing slightly better than the Greenskin infantry, still having half health and fully recharged their Tinge barrier. The Savage Orc Arrow Boys are trying to adjust their position and start firing at the Jabber's Life, but Taurox is right next to them, and unfortunately the Greenskin missiles can't really do much damage before silenced once again by the Beastman monster. Without much interruption, the Jabber's Life is easily chasing off all the routed Greenskin units, escorting them towards the white line, making sure they would never come back. Now the Zangors will be going after the other routed Greenskin units, but of course their Tinge barrier, despite being full, is not in the full strength. This will give the Greenskin an easier time to finish them off. Now the Orc Boy Bigans are charging straight into the flank of all these Zangors. The impact damage managed to wreck through their Tinge barrier, but then they will be staying in combat for a little too long. Now the knocked over Zangors are standing back up and fighting back, dragging down some of those Boar Cavalry. And you can see that the Orc Boy Bigans are now taking damage. Savage Orc Bigans surrounding Taurox will be doing some okay damage to him, but as infantry they always have limited model in contact with Taurox, and Taurox can simply bulldoze his way out of the blob using his mass and charge animation. Even if they manage to surround Taurox, their lack of armor piercing and limited unit models in contact with the Beastman single entity means that they will have limited damage output. At the backfield, the Jabber's Life is still rampaging across the formations of all these poor Savage Orc Arrow Boys. They might just be pushed off all the way to the white line because Greenskins have no tools to stop this onslaught. Some of these Savage Orc Arrow Boys is just running for their lives, trying to get away as far from the Jabber's Life as possible, but the Zangors are closely behind following. There are some Savage Orc Arrow Boys regrouping, but they will soon be threatened by the Jabber's Life once the Jabber's Life finish off with pushing off all these poor Savage Orc Bigans and Orc Arrow Boys. Another unit of Orc Boy Bigans is seen off by Taurox himself, and at this point, there is just very little the Greenskins can do to stop the Beastmen single entities. Yes, the Orc Boy Bigans over here can still do some good damage, but they are so tattered right now. A quick terror out might just be the end of these Greenskin Bacon Calf. Of course, the Overwatch fire from all the arrows might still be quite punishing on the lightly armored Jabber's Life. But the Jabber's Life can simply jump in and the missile fire will be silenced. After quickly routing the first unit of archers with terror, the Jabberslave can move on to the next one. Now the Bacon Cav are here trying to stop the big monster, but the problem with the Jabberslave is that it has enough mass and speed to push through regular cavalry. You can see that the Bacon Cav are not stopping him at all. It is indeed getting shot and the leadership is dropping, but it got close just enough to initiate the charge animation. This kind of late game terror is devastating to the Greenskins, who are already a low leadership faction and they lost their lord, getting a permanent leadership debuff. Now on the far side, Torox is using his speed advantage, ignoring those Savage Orc Bigans and walking away from the Greenskin infantry. Most likely trying to reinforce the Jabberslave, who is dropping really low in terms of leadership but is still barely holding on to battle. The Greenskins are pouring more arrow fire towards the Jabberslave, but the Jabberslave having that scaly skin, 15% of missile resistance will help it hold a little bit longer, buying time for Torox to come back and reinforce. Unfortunately for the Beastmen though, the charge of the Bacon Cav, all these Orc Boy Bacons, was the final straw that broke the Jabberslave's back. Torox is still fighting with the support of a relatively healthy Zangor, who has managed to broken off these Forest Goblin Spider Riders. A bit of Orc Boy Bigans trying to charge in and help, but the Zangors plus Torox is more than enough to deal with the depleted Orc Boy Bigans. The Jabberslave taking a little bit more damage from the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, but the heavy armor of the Torox, unlike the rest of the Beastman monster, means that Torox would not be taking much damage from the Greenskin missiles. Especially as a character, he also has missile resistance to mitigate missile damage. Don't forget about its barrel roll animation, helping it to push through the Greenskin screening. Not that they have much screening left anyways, as the Forest Goblin Spider Riders were quickly routed by the presence of the Beastman Lord. More Forest Goblin Spider Riders charges into the Zangors, trying to do some more impact damage, but with Torox charging straight into their rear and flank, the Goblin Spider Riders will soon be routed. A few of these Orc Arrow Boys and other Greenskin units have regrouped, but they have taken way too much losses, too exhausted on battlefield, and their leadership is just tanking, especially with Warsack being destroyed by Torox way earlier in battle. Now Torox is charging into the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, as one of the Zangors have been routed by the Orc Bacons, leaving Torox alone to fight everything else. On the far side, a tattered unit of Zangors is returning to combat, but more or less it is just Torox carrying the entire game right now. The Savage Orc Arrow Boys are still shooting, but as I said before, Torox is just tanking it with 130 armor plus a bit of missile resistance as a character. As you can see here, Torox is simply shrugging off all the incoming air fire, beelining straight for the Savage Orc Arrow Boys. The Boy Bigans are charging towards Torox, trying to stop him, but they're only barely holding on because they have the charging leadership buff. It probably doesn't take long for them to get routed once again and getting shattered. On the far side, one Zangor broke at the same time as the Greenskins they are fighting, while the other Zangor that is returning is getting showered by arrows from the Greenskin archers. They do have the Tinge barrier to absorb some missile fire, while Torox is seeing off yet another Greenskin unit. So all that's left on the field are pretty much these two Greenskin infantry, the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, and the Savage Orc Bigans, who are now focusing down the last remaining Zangor unit. Torox have seen off all the Greenskin cavalry and will be returning to the fray here. Savage Orc Arrow Boys trying to run away from the pursuing Zangors, while the Savage Orc Bigans will be breaking this one more Beastman unit. And then they try to intercept Torox, but Torox simply walked through their interception. Once again, using his mass and charge animation, Torox dives straight into the ranks of the Savage Orc Arrow Boys. Soon, the Savage Orc Arrow Boys is routed by the presence of the Brass Bull. Now, the Savage Orc Bigans will try to challenge the Beastman Lord. Unfortunately, they are just Greenskins believing in the power of Gorka and Mork and doesn't actually have the blessing of a god, unlike Torox. So Torox will be easily bumping and grinding through all these Greenskin infantry, eventually hitting army losses, winning the game. GG to Cool Umbrella and Ra Unleashed for this exciting game. Ra Unleashed is also a new recruit to the Night Crew clan, so yeah, welcome to the clan. Anyways, for the army performances here, the Greenskins had a rough time hunting down the single entities here. The Orc Boy Biggins and Orc Biggins all did their best, but their best isn't quite enough. Even with all the buffs hunting down those Minotaurs, after that, the Orc Boy Biggins still struggled to do much damage against the Jabberslave, who has terror and just rampaging through their ranks, and also Taurox, which is just extremely hard to kill. Though I think the biggest weakness of this build is that the Lord Wurzak is not able to counter any direct damage spell, and Greenskins as a result against any factions with direct damage spell like Death Magic and of course Traitorkin and Soul Stealer is in a massive back foot due to the lack of healing. Now for the rest of the army here, the Savage Orc Area Boys got constantly disrupted but still managed to do some good damage overall, while the rest of the Greenskin units, the Goblins, don't really have the leadership to hold on against all the Zangors, the monsters, so they got wrecked pretty hard. For the Beastmen army here, the Jabberslave got some pretty good damage dealt, but I do think that the carry of the game is definitely Taurox there, grinding all the way into the late game, being the only thing that hold the entire Beastmen army together and win the game in the end. The Minotaurs got overloaded hard by all the Boar cavalry, and the Zangors did some very cost-effective trading overall, earning back most of their value despite the Greenskins having a massive wah buffing their damage overall. For the Angkor Raiders, the damage is not that much, being overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of Greenskins, and the same goes for the Warhounds and the regular Angkor melee herds. Of course, the Brave Shaman with the lore of Traitorkin did a lot of damage to Wurzak and is one of the key to winning this battle for the Beastmen by knocking out the Greenskin leadership early. And yeah, that's all for today's battle. I hope you all enjoy, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer content, be sure to hit the like and subscribe and keep an eye out for new video uploads. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.